welcome back to the RacialInvestor.com Broiler Chicken Show. Trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the RacialInvestor.com's weekend frivolities. Broiler chickens. Bark, bark, bark. Where do we begin? Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Actually, this is JoJo's birthday. Happy birthday to you, wherever you are in this universe. Best wishes, my love. Hope all of you are enjoying the holiday weekend. I don't know. Would you call it a holiday weekend? Guess it was U.S. Thanksgiving last Thursday, so it was a bit of a disjointed trading environment through the weekend. Actually pretty nice weather out here on the wet coast. I saw back east, though, getting slammed with snow, so... Guess late November, early December, buy when it snows, all that kind of talk. Actually, probably the theme of what I'm seeing in the market right now. Speaking as your financial advisor, not financial advice. The thing is, though, that I would never give you idiot financial advice because I know that one of you will say, hey, if he just said this was financial advice and it's wrong, I get to sue. But yeah, might consider the old buy when it snows, sell when it goes scenario. Ironically enough, actually, the premium has been completely taken out of crypto now. So you could even argue that we're not, venture cap markets, not much of a risk premium built into prices right now. And as I always tell people, this is the only business when stuff goes on sale, nobody wants to buy. But then mysteriously, something will happen. Circle jerks will start going. Rallies will start happening. And then, oh man, they just can't get enough of this crap at the top of the market. So I guess really the question is, and actually, well, might as well take a moment. I tell you what, I'll ask the question, then we'll do a hello. And if you know the answer, actually, I was also thinking this. You know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to have a couple contests at the beginning of all of these videos. And if anything, we got to get like a merch shop or something rocking and hand out merch as the winning. So first question, I was thinking about this in the shower this morning. What movie is this line from? If you're a trader, and keep in mind traders have watched this movie, like people who love trading, a million times. And she stepped on the ball. All right, who can tell me what movie that's from? I'll know that you're a diehard trading fan if you know what movie that's from. So we'll give you a +1. Somebody put in the comments after the video if you know what movie that's from. And hint, something to do with trading. So there you go. Then in an interesting sort of way, and maybe you could just reply when I say hello to everybody in the chat. Hey, maybe if you know the answer to that question, throw it in the chat too, but then you give the answer away. But if a market is down at its lows, is your glass half empty or is your glass half full? It's not really a right or wrong way to actually answer that. It's all just about your perspective. So, the tweet that I put out here is I'm seeing a ton of assets, including all of your shit coins. They're all just sitting basically at the bottom ends of ranges, idiots that do nothing more than circle jerk. And really their job is just to pump. And they really don't know what they're doing in the market. Those kind of people now are kind of being made to look foolish. and losing credibility once again. I think we all know who I'm talking about, certain presidential sons. Um, and I get the impression now, especially within the altcoin space, that this is actually a kind of environment where you can't give this stuff away. And if you're in that kind of environment where you can't give this stuff away to people, they think it's toxic. Well, the value investors are in there hunting with a bowl and spoon. So it's really a question of perspective, but at the end of the day, we're here to make money on it. That means, to all intents and purposes, you got to try and buy at a low price, and when the public bids prices up and things are going crazy, you sell at a high price and you make money from trading. I mean, I suppose you could short things. There's only a few names actually now that I would actually consider shortable. Um, I have one funny demonstration of a recent shitcoin that went crazy, and people were actually publicly coming in and touting it at the top of the range. And I have a funny demo short on for the community, so I sort of walk people through how that trade's going. And frankly speaking, it's doing pretty damn well. And it looks like whatever the underlying is, it looks like it could like literally fall right out of bed here over the next couple of weeks. So it'll be fun to watch how that plays out. I won't name names, but any long time or regular viewers know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, so in a weird sort of way, I kind of think that this is a type of environment where if you have your plan together, you know exactly what it is that you like to buy. You have your reasons vetted out, and location is always should always be reason number one, especially if we're in weekly trade locations. Um, we also have a window here where those who are in the marketplace making decisions based on tax implications and tax driven transactions, i.e., I've got a big capital gain on this silly little AI stock that I bought last spring, and it's gone absolutely crazy. And I rang the register and went and bought my wife a brand new fur coat or a Porsche or whatever is popular these days. And now I've got a big old tax bill I got to worry about. Diamond ring, I suppose, would be more appropriate. Anyway, actually, I know one guy who spent 20 G's on a fishing trip up the north coast of Vancouver Island. So it just goes to show, I guess 25 years ago, when my brain sort of set value, I would have been willing to spend maybe 5,000 on a nice, all-inclusive trip up the go fishing with guides and stuff. But 20 grand? My God, it just goes to show we have been resetted. Add a zero onto the end of all your price tags, and if you don't like it, get ready for a big swear expletive out of Brian's mouth. So, anyway, can't remember how I got off on that tangent. But I would say that if you can take advantage of this window here, I actually think within the venture cap space, man, there is a whole bunch of really, really good looking deals. And as I even said there a second ago, even within the crypto space. And I might argue that as I've watched this space evolve, I see very, very little conversation about value in this space. See lots and lots of people coming up with reasons as to why price is going down, and it's all a conspiracy. But at the end of the day, as all assets should have some sort of relative value. And sadly, usually by the time the public, and I would say like 90% of YouTube, when they're actually talking about, and social media in general, when they're talking about ideas, they're a million miles away from value. Be interesting, even so look at that. I didn't have a single person say anything about whether the glass was half full or half empty. Um, but it'd be interesting just the people that are watching, and maybe this is an opportunity for you to comment, because we just don't get that many comments on these videos. Just kind of surprising. But here's a comment. Who can finish this line? Get your fill in the blank together. It was a funny little sort of meme saying that I said, if you watch the video and you know the answer to that, then you know exactly when you should be buying these assets, right? You really should. And sadly, if you did watch that video series, that was actually like a couple of years ago. There you go. Thank you very much, sharpest. Nice. Give that person a cigar. If it's politically correct to smoke cigars these days anymore, I get the funniest looks from like the Gen X, the millennials. Actually, I actually have a lot of young people walk by me going, "Oh, I remember when my grandfather smoked cigars. I love that smell. Oh, I remember that." And then the Gen X, like midlife crisis women. Oh my God, the look on their faces when they walk by me are smoking a stogie. It's priceless. I was like, I got to take a camera with me. I guess, do they even have cameras anymore? I gotta have my cell phone on me, right? Or whatever. So yeah. So, with regard to venture cap, and as I had sort of alluded to there a moment ago, if we are in a type of environment where people actually, crypto equals tokenization of real world assets. What's the value on one of those? Who fucking knows? I mean, it could be $1, it could be $1,000. It really all, like, yeah, you guys remember those apes? I mean, what are those ape things even going for these days? Remember that? That was all the rage. In fact, on my Twitter feed, I have one of those silly NFT things. I think NFT is the word. I'm not sure. And those guys, they've like literally disappeared. Um, so I don't even really hear people talk about the value proposition in crypto anymore. So in a weird sort of way, you could be invested in the crypto story and have absolutely nothing to do with like value. And the two conversations don't even align anymore, which is kind of tragic. I also think too, and probably this image, I think probably articulates this kind of message well. This image. Does that not look like an asset that has been built out? I mean, you can see how the growth curve was like, absolutely insane straight up. And then the next cycle, slightly lesser slope. Then the next cycle, slightly lesser slope. Then the next cycle, and I think we've hit our cycle pivot now. The next cycle, let's go like that. Now we'll put that there. And then that there. So you can literally see the growth curve. I don't know what we call it. I think this asset has been built out and it's probably going to do its job nicely here. But you can see that, the parabolic growth nature of this asset is slowing down. But the interesting thing too here is I think it has been basically adopted by, Wall Street 1%. And really, actually, I wouldn't even know whether, I don't think 1% is even the right term anymore, but like it's been securitized, right? So now it's being distributed to the public up top here. And it probably follows along that same, Moore's law curve kind of idea of growth and the halvening cycles and all that. But you can clearly see that hey, I'm going to buy it and it's going to go 10x. Liam's still waiting for his house. And that Allen Computers AI thing. Why is nobody even talking about that? A little disappointing. But anyway, I get the impression that, this could actually just, rebound because this is a log scale chart. We could actually just rebound in a very small range on this log scale chart. And, maybe the floor is like 30, 40,000. You won't even notice it on this chart. And as you can see, repeatedly, although maybe it might be hard to see it on this. But if we go just off of like regular numbers, not log scale numbers, but you can see market has to correct about 70 in this case, maybe a little bit more, but usually 70, 80% of whatever the previous bull market was. I've just seen this year after year after year. And I mean, nothing really changes in this space. So, 78.6, 78.6. I mean, I don't understand why people fight this stuff, but maybe it's because I've just been staring at too many charts for too many years. I see this crap in my sleep. So would it be logical for this move up here to probably do a 78.6, which is what that's like 63, 64,000 based off of, I don't know whether this is the current price now. What is this measured off of? Boosh. Oh no, that was hopes and dreams levels. If this cycle peak is our cycle peak, it's at 40,000. And actually, I kind of like that. That makes sense. Because if you think last cycle, we bottomed around, let's call it 15, somewhere in that area. Then, having an event, right? Well, probably should pop that by 2. So like 30,000, let's say there's, 30% inflation. Let's add on another 10,000. So 40,000 as a nice new cost of production floor. I could live with that. Makes logical sense. Also, too, notice that'll be a nice intersection of this downtrend line. And quite often what I see is markets will break out. And actually, this is an interesting analogy of this from a massively higher time frame basis. My sort of trading rule and what I teach people is I can't really get overly bullish about this breakout here until I actually get, and really what you want to see is a nice W, right? That comes in off of that. That now sets the base off of this trend line, that there is now a floor on top of this trend line, giving us permission to launch ourselves higher. And this is a sustainable floor. But you notice that's not what happened here. They just, through fucking Donnie and his insanity and total corruption, just blasted it straight up. And then ironically enough, just grinding down V bottom, straight back up, choppy top. My hunch is there's probably going to be a lot of back and forth through all of this. And then one final capitulation dump into the cycle pivot low. It probably should be just about a year from now, somewhere in that area. Also, too, this does align nicely with, I do believe there is going to be absolute chaos in the United States of America right about there next year. I've already started to hear people and, talking heads, all that kind of crap, starting to bark about this is basically a make or break election for Donald Trump. If he loses this election this coming November, he's pretty much going to turn into a lame duck. And the next 2 years of our future will just be simply impeach, 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 and he'll get nothing done. So all the cards are on the table. heading into what we know historically was an absolute shit show of inflation disaster. The last great reset money cycle pivot, 1946, 47, 48. So is like history repeating itself? Is this all scripted? All right, my hunch is they, them, those people, they're going to create some sort of crisis. Uh, I don't know whether they can go back to the sickness well. It wouldn't surprise me. Could be war, could be an asteroid. Who fucking knows? Excuse my French. Got to get rid of those swears. But there's going to be some sort of crisis they manufacture through this to sort of give them permission to just turn on the money printers, right? I mean, you remember through the sickness, if you get the capitalists that are sitting in the seat of power saying stupid things like, I will sacrifice myself, and the bankers go, ooh, what did you just say? I will sacrifice myself to save capitalism. I should get that quote printed on a plaque or something and stapled to my butt. Because in essence, all this crap comes down to is money. That's all it comes down to. And so, these people think that capitalism itself is in jeopardy if prices are falling. So we have to do anything and everything possible to stop prices falling. And the banksters say, well, here's a nice contract for you to sign your life away. Doesn't this kind of remind us of like a story about Satan? Here's a contract to sign not only your life, but your children's life and your grandchildren's life. And we'll be more than happy to turn the spigots back on for you. So cliche. And the irony of it all when it comes to the public is just, why are you going and buying an asset that this silly Bitcoin was like $15,000 in the middle of 2022, 2023. Okay, what are you talking about? Brian jumped up to 20G. Well, what are you doing going and buying it for over $100,000 in less than a 2-year window? I mean, this is crazy what these silly humans do. So, if anything, you're supposed to have empathy for these people. But if anything, you listen to these people all getting sucked into that world liberty coin nonsense. And of course, why on earth would anybody invest, quote unquote? And these people really aren't investing. They're just gambling. But why would you invest in a president's wife's cryptocurrency that has absolutely zero intrinsic value? Like, why would you invest in something like that? It just doesn't make any sense. So I hate to say it, but this is now this window from here until probably next winter is they are removing the premium that was built into this price over the past couple of years. And it wasn't really that much of a premium. I mean, keep in mind in previous cycles, we had just absolutely insane premiums built into this bull market. And the question, of course, is why didn't it go as much up this cycle as it previous? And I get a funny feeling this has everything to do with the cost of money. And the cost of money right now is actually pretty high. Relatively speaking, it's not often that the central bank, the powers that be, actually had interest rates at like 5% short-term interest rates. Historically, that was actually a very, very high number. So, and they really haven't budged. I mean, God, you listen to Taco and all of those clowns. And of course, Taco said the same thing before, but keep in mind, if you're in the real estate business, that means by definition, you are in the debt business because very rarely do people pay cash for real estate. They're a 1/4% difference in short-term interest rates could be like difference of millions of dollars to those kind of people, if not more. But I think that in the environment, and keep in mind, Bitcoin actually came into existence way back here, even way before this, but through a time when there was just no economic activity at all, right? It was following the great financial crisis and all that crap. And the market was absolutely desperate. The central planners, that's why they took interest rates to zero and kept them there forever, right? They were desperate for anybody to do anything. The economy must grow. Oh, well, if they're not going to grow through spending, let's turn the money printers on and we'll grow it through inflating the money supply. Anyway, you all know how that went. But the point here is, of course, through here, trying desperately to, calm the market down, took interest rates to zero. And in that kind of environment, go borrow $1 million, doesn't cost you anything. Just make damn sure to have that $1 million back in the garage with no dents in it and a full tank of gas. All right, Dad, no problem. Anyway, so I think that's why this asset did as well as it did. And God, I remember back in these days, we'd have like shit coins go up like 100x in one day. I remember one guy, he got 13 doubles off on this one cryptocurrency. It was a cannabis coin, but we all called it candy. Those were the days. And it's fun to interact with people on the site about the frivolity of that kind of environment. And unfortunately, this is a very, very different world that we live in from then. Apples and oranges. Also, too, a fantastic testament to these fear and greed cycle apexes and peaks in that the thesis that I teach my students is that the market moves in 35-year generational cycles. And ironically enough, I think actually it's like the market money flows move in those 35-year cycles. But the catalyst, and this has been, I think, the big learning experience through this whole insanity, because frankly speaking, I mean, I lived through the greed cycle, and the greed cycle is very polite because everybody's making money and it's happy-go-lucky, all that kind of stuff. But through the fear cycle, literally the wheels fall off the bus, right? And you have to sort of learn. And I was like 10 years old the last fear cycle, and what I remember out of that was American citizens being paraded around downtown Tehran with sacks over their heads and like crowds of Iranian men chanting for their deaths and death to it, America, and Jimmy Carter sitting there completely inept, nothing he could do, and him watching the reports of his American citizens being paraded around, following the fall of the Shah. But this go round, I lived it as an individual. And history never repeats itself, and I can absolutely guarantee you, if anybody said, well, this is the insanity that's going to typify this particular fear greed cycle, people would have thought you were crazy. But I will remember this, just as I remembered poor old Americans being paraded around Tehran and the American flag being burned in that particular fear cycle. Well, this is what I will remember, and I will write about in my memoirs about what this fear cycle looked like. And frankly speaking, it's embarrassing. This is, just if an alien civilization came to this planet and looked at this gentleman, they wouldn't understand what the hell's going through this guy's head. It's just absolute insanity. And I remember through this experience, I basically said, we'll look back 5, 10 years from now when humanity gets its sanity back, and we'll look back at this and go like, what the hell? It'll be an interesting anecdote going forward in life, and I will remember that. That was right through all that. And of course, you had the January 6th insurrection. Oh, there's a fun memory. And ironically enough, from a monetary basis, the central planners just printing money like it's going out of freaking style. I guarantee you 50 years, 100 years from now, people are going to look back at that and just go, that was absolute financial stupidity. And the worst part about all this, of course, is that, as I said earlier, I will sacrifice my life to save capitalism. The way the bankers have us set up, emotionally triggered, they own this society, lock, stock, and barrel. And ironically enough, half of the reason why your beloved Bitcoin is doing what it's doing right now, it really has little to do with interest rates. This slide here recently, and probably, let's see, we'll go to the weekly chart. That slide there, which ironically enough, is actually perfectly natural. Nothing out of the ordinary here whatsoever. Quite harmonically acceptable. And I do find it interesting that harmonically, the market really, I think, wants to, it wants to be at $92,000 US, whatever the hell that's worth. You can see A, B, C, D. This is the natural symmetrical harmonic, but this is a really good lesson for all aspiring technicians that quite often, because, whether it be market manipulation, whether it be options expiry, whether it be crypto bros, whether it be margin calls, who knows, but the market often will overshoot sort of natural objectives and then actually work its way into sort of a natural acceptance of harmonic levels. I mean, I don't know if it's going to play out that way, but I do find it fascinating how we dipped violently below it. And then literally this week, we rallied right back and basically just kissed where the market would naturally like to be. So if it's anything you can learn about harmonics, it's kind of like, you can't really stop the tide coming in, tide going out, but you can definitely mark high water marks. You can you can kind of see where the midpoint of waves are on a beach, kind of idea. Obviously the very, very top of the wave, well, that's not the median. That's not sort of where naturally are. That's sort of, and you get like white caps on water. That's the frothiness. But where is sort of the natural, think of surfers as they're surfing along a wave. Where's sort of the balance point of that pipeline, right? That's the way I would look at harmonics. And, we often overshoot and gyrate around. But I think that, and, not a coincidence that the point of control for this market, the POC, is right in that area. And then also, too, I've been barking to you guys about this one particular trend line forever. It was a high to high trend line off of here. It marked an interesting pivot here. You can see how the market respected that level for quite a while, then lost it, then came back to it, accepted back above, right? And then we come back down. Now we're back below it. Oh my, what a surprise. That also is right in there. And then, of course, the biggest psychological level you could possibly have. I mean, I don't think you could think of a bigger, fatter, rounder number than $100,000. So I might make an argument that 100,000 is also going to be some sort of oscillation point here for quite some time. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. So technically speaking, there's nothing really special going on here, folks. That's the irony of all of this. It's just, I think what happened, of course, most people that follow this story, they can't, discern a chart from, just doesn't mean anything to them. An old gnarly guy like me, I go, see, look at this level. That's so obvious. Look at that level. I mean, come on, look at this level. I'm sure a new person that trades like, I don't know what the hell this guy's going on about. But anyway, for the people that aren't really that educated in this space, this is actually a very logical place for price to actually come back to and check. And we affectionately love to call it the pump chaser zone based off of a gentleman. I spent a lot of time at TRI. He's off doing his own thing now somewhere on the internet. Also, too, really good lesson. The old adage is wicks and tails like to be eaten. These little parts below the candlestick body here, they're called tails below the body. They're called wicks above the body, even though many experts online don't seem to understand that. Oh, so not a big surprise. This tail came right into that original level. I don't know whether I would call that completely tested. And we have a funny saying, candle body highs and lows for trade location. I wouldn't be surprised if there's still some exploration against these lows down in here. That wouldn't shock me as well. I would even say that in the near term, and I think I told you guys this last week, there's a specific reason why I like to use the moving averages that I do. So you can see market gets a little bit away from this fast moving average, gets sucked back to it. Market moves away, gets sucked back to it. Market moves away, gets sucked back to it. Market moves away. You can see where the 13 EMA here is now. My hunch is, it'll probably be a combination of this coming down and price moving up, but price probably wants to get back to that 13 EMA. And real resistance on this market right now, I would say, is the 30 SMA on the weekly chart and sitting right up there at Mountain Man level. That 61.8 level is pretty important, especially with regard to this market, because it has broken previously bullish structure, higher highs and higher lows defines a bull, blah, blah, blah. This 61.8 level now represents a really important technical pivot for me. So not a big surprise that 30 SMA is right up there. And even on this sort of zoomed version of this volume profile, you can see how that's basically the point of control of this entire range, which ironically enough, profile really wants to look like a parabola at the end of the day. So that means by definition, this whole area really needs filling in. And the only way it's going to get filled in is if price trades up into that area. So you can see that there's a bit of backfilling that really ought to happen here. And if you ever see a profile that looks like a solid square, it's basically telling you, I'm ready to get the hell out of this range. I've fully explored this range and I want to rock and roll. Doesn't necessarily mean up or down, but as you can see, there's quite a bit of unfinished business in this range. I mean, I see a whole bunch of reasons to look for this area here is our bottom end of our range in the near term. This area is the top end of our range in the near term, and it's time to do some backfilling. Interestingly enough, one of the modules in the education program that I wrote a million years ago was on candlestick patterns. And actually going through the entire education program over the past 10, 15 years, been very educational for me as well. This candle here closing at 86.03, and then this candle opening up at 86.808, super important, 86.803 it closed, opened up 86.808 or slightly higher. That does imply that this body here is actually inside this body here. to the Japanese candle aficionados, because the body is inside this body, technically it is harami. I personally, for me to believe harami, and if you ever see harami in the most classic sense, the entire, I always draw these things crappily. I'm gonna have to do it extra wide so I can get the candle in between the wick and tail. If you ever see a situation where harami is completely wick and tail, body, everything is inside mummy's body, then that, to me, that is hugely significant. This technically is harami, but I don't like to call it harami. I like to call it a bull rammy, because baby's feet are slightly sticking outside of mummy's body. Baby's body is completely inside mummy's body. In fact, actually, when I first taught this course, 15-20 years ago, a couple who took it, they actually, the wife was Japanese and fluent, and it turns out harami translates roughly into pregnant woman carrying baby. Which I thought was interesting, but anyway, point here is this, where I don't know where we're going to finish here today, but if price opens up and trades through this bar's high, 93,091, in the coming week, then that does actually imply harami to the Japanese candlesticks, bull rammy to Brian, inside bar, 3-bar fractal, blah, 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 blah. And that's a reversal signal. And also interesting too, look how that level is setting perfectly with this megaphone thinking. And sometimes you do see that on megaphones. In fact, I think Ethereum back in the spring, I had drawn a megaphone 1, 2, 3, and it actually popped up, put in an M above the megaphone line, and then Eric Trump comes out and says, buy Ethereum and make tons of money because he's a doofus. And the thing just absolutely crapped out. So just because the megaphone line is there, it doesn't necessarily mean the market has to like reverse right off of the tag of it. In this particular case, it was pretty damn close. I think if anything, you should just sort of respect, hey, we're coming into megaphone levels, just be cognizant. So can we have a situation on a megaphone where it does dip below the megaphone level and then actually puts in a reversal and confirms acceptance back into it, and that's a trade setup? Actually, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. So don't be shocked if this is some sort of pivot down here. Again, like I said, we have technically acceptable correction levels hit. So you can't make the argument that this thing's technically overextended and we're walking into a trap here. No, that's all been cleaned up now. And have you seen what the sentiment in the public is right now? Holy crap. You think this stuff was zero? I mean, what's so funny is you listen to people talk about Michael Saylor and you think it's the end of the fucking world for crypto. And I need to remind people, this thing is still $90,000 a piece. What the hell's wrong with you people? These silly humans and the way they act emotionally. And yeah, they're all caught because like chumps, they came in and chased an up market and they're saying, well, I bought it 120 and now it's almost half that price. What am I going to do? Well, maybe you're going to learn from your mistakes. Don't chase. Drives you crazy. Anyway, what can you do? So ironically enough, actually, if we drill down to lower time frames, I think I could actually argue there are bullish setups trying to form off of this bounce, right? Because you can make the argument market went all the way down here, doink, bounce straight up into here, and clearly this harami bar is a consolidation. And if we break out through the top of the consolidation, that's a bull flag. And it probably does nothing more than just take us back to 13 EMA, which I've told you for a few weeks now probably needs to be traded back to. Takes us back to the 50% rule, WD GAN 101. Takes us back to value high, right? This is just nothing more than the midpoint of this range. Takes us back to trendline resistance, and of course takes us back to the big fat round number. Right. Oh well. Anyway, so this stuff, I don't see anything shocking here, folks. I really don't. Let's see. Shitcoins? I actually would make the argument that shitcoins now, in a weird sort of way, thanks to this FU candle, I think this sort of set the consolidation range. It's always dangerous in this space, of course. It is venture capital, so you don't know who's gonna rug you in this game. And rugs are very prevalent. Don't get me wrong. Certainly not saying that isn't a big potential for it. But in a weird sort of way, it kind of feels like we're doing something like that right now. Which means, I mean, ideally, we'd like to see the market, like you see here, break out and then put in structure on the other side of all these trend lines and stuff. But I guess what I'm thinking about is an old venture cap guy I used to work with a million years ago. And also, too, remember that whole tax loss selling push? As we get closer and closer and closer to the end of the year, I don't know whether you're back east or not in North America, but I did see reports of a lot of snow falling. Interesting that we are backing up. In fact, actually, when this dump originally happened, I was like, oh, all they did was they just backed the market up into a buying window, reload zones. Yeah, you can see this can't be this cliche, can it? Well, turns out it was. So if we start seeing structural turns down in this area, considering we're coming into that tax loss selling sort of deadline window, you want to offset the taxes owed somewhere else, well, sell some shitcoin that you were conned into buying and book the loss, and let's just move on in life. I mean, I'm not predicting the future, but this kind of looks like an image to me that, man, we've come down an awful long way here, right? 1.2 down to a low of 8. Interesting. I often talk to you guys about oscillation around levels. I think you could make the argument that $1 trillion was probably a pretty important sort of psychological mark. So, if we use that logic, right? BFRN in the shitcoin space is a $1 trillion market cap. Well, there's nothing wrong with that thinking. Makes sense. So I kind of think that's what's going on here. So oscillation above and oscillation below. I wouldn't be surprised if we're back here. I don't know whether it can happen before the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if the shitcoin space just kind of goes sideways for a little bit. And then we have a big push into the end of the year. Will people like Tom Lee and stuff be vindicated? I don't know. Good old Ethereum has done quite a bit of technical damage here. I think he's kind of running out of time before the end of the year. I could see though, and here's the irony of all this, is who came and said, "Oh, buy Ethereum here, you'll do great." I was actually, to be perfectly honest, I was pretty disappointed in hearing Arthur Hayes as bullish as he was. I always got the impression that guy was a pretty fucking smart guy. And I got the impression he was like a Wall Street veteran type person. So that really did surprise me, hearing him on sort of the circle jerk kind of bandwagon up top here. I think you could make the argument that, this is technically boring, business as usual. You can't fucking write, excuse my French, can't script this any better. Good old Mountain Man, what a surprise. And also, too, this is a pretty good analogy of Mountain as well, because he used to just simply come in and buy a level right? He was a price risk kind of guy. Remember, I'm an information risk kind of guy, so we're very different creatures. He would take that heat. He really wouldn't have a problem with that. And then on a return to the mean, which is exactly what's happening here right now. You could probably throw on Brian's fund moving averages as a mean measurement. And here comes all the moving averages. You can see this is the market returning to the mean. Probably, I don't know whether I have a VWAP on here, whether that'll work on a daily. You could probably go down to a lower time frame and see the VWAP. No, the VWAP's too close. Who can tell me? Only gnarly old technicians. What the hell's the VWAP off of the daily charts? God, I remember I used to remember that. About 10 years ago, I forgot it, and I can't for the life of me remember it again. Anyway, we use the VWAP for intraday stuff, but even if we just go off of these basic moving averages, there's 13 EMA, I think. No, these are the institutional moving averages, even better. So you can see and how ironic that stupid Trump guy. I mean, I'm sure, especially with Basant. I mean, I'm sure Basant went, what the fuck are you doing here? You get off my goddamn trading desk. I mean, I teach this to all my students. How do institutions define trends and how do they discern trends? They use these particular moving averages. So they're still very much bearish. I think, like I said, this is nothing more than that concept of I'm going to buy a level, which Mountain usually would do, and then start to spoon feed it to the market on a return to the mean. Short-term moving averages work great for that. And then stops at scratch. And if we roll over and break these levels, well, fine, he's gone. But the point, of all of that conversation is just that the institutional players are actually starting to pay attention when we get to tagging things like 61 1.8. So that's again, like, why would Arthur say that up there? I was very, very surprised at that. Maybe if one of you know Arthur or anything, ask him, why would you chase like that? I thought you were an institutional type player. So, I mean, I think Tom is a great fundamental analyst. And I think he's very, very good at identifying sort of societal trends and the trend in, his preferred space, the technology space. But the worst technician you have ever met in your life. And he openly admits, hey, I'm not the best market timer. So put the two together. Like I said, I'm pretty disappointed in Arthur. Doesn't really surprise me about Tom. And I actually think Tom is doing nothing more than just shilling his stock trade. And keep in mind that if you are a principal in these companies and you do one of these crazy ass public offerings and the thing goes crazy, it's actually a little bit of how do you describe it? I'm sure, because I think Tom is long his stock, wherever the hell I have that. One of these silly screens, I've got all my crypto names on it. I thought it was, is it this one? Yeah. Yeah, here it is. He's long his stock. And when I saw this, somebody mentioned, oh yeah, well, he's long from $4.50 a share. I actually tweeted back at him after one of his local shareholder updates. And I said, I'll be more than happy to buy your stock from the gap, right? And any student of mine knows over time, there's no way in hell these gaps can't be filled in, especially with that big. But it'll probably be filled in like next, January, February. If the Democrats win that election next fall, can you imagine what the crypto space is going to be like when the bald guy, what's the bald guy's name with the glasses? And he just shit on crypto as hard as he could when he was in charge of Congress's House of Representatives committee. And then the black lady, oh my God, she shit on crypto. And of course, Gensler, oh, it's all a con, and I hate to say it, but seeing Trump and all his cronies, and what his kid did to that whole Solana space, yeah, it is all a con job when you have leadership like that. Um, but I could very easily see like next winter and the Democrats are in completely control and they start passing, time to officially shit on this crypto space. And it's going to be, of course, all in the name of national security and financial stability and getting rid of fraudulent, bad actors, blah, 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 blah. But, and you could come up with that at whatever fundamental story you can think of. And ironically enough, the way that it'll be spun, it'll be a crazier story than any of us could ever imagine or write. But if those Democrats win next fall election, oh man, and it would make perfect sense, right? Because everybody will hate crypto and crypto will be right down at the bottom end of the range. And it'll be just like get your skirt together time. Because when I was barking, get your skirt together, that previous cycle, like I was loading up on this hut at like $3 or $4 a share. I mean, it was crazy. And, this is one of the more respectable mining names in the space. But I mean, you can see the saucer bottom, there's 22, there's 23. That's when, of course, they're throwing the book at Bankman Yahoo or whatever. And I mean, you can see the price down here. I guess it wasn't, I seem to remember it was about $5 that I was buying it at. And there is your crypto bull market. That's 10x your money. 10x your money. That's not bad. So, of course, I got to force myself to sell into that. Why couldn't this do this again? It's ironically enough, we can fractal this out here. If I can find the silly tool. There we are, bar pattern. So let's go, let's take it the midpoint and then we'll go all the way back to here. Something like that. And then flip that around. And then we'll place that right on top of there. And adjust. And there you go. Pretty straightforward. I could very easily see something along those lines. So, and this is just, Mendelbrot, the world of the universe is a fractal. So I have no idea what the hell the future is going to hold. But if I was thinking, what the path ought to look like, considering these very predictable Bitcoin cycles, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't do that. And unfortunately, as typical, public comes piling in up top here. And, even here, they're dramatically underwater and they're going, okay, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I bought right here, Brian. What do I do? I think you just chalk it up to a bad investment, liquidate it, move on. Or, you can just sit and hold on to it and see what the hell happens. Only time will tell. But I really, really dislike people coming in and buying up markets like this. It's just a potion for disaster. Maybe if you're lucky, it plays out like this where you have to go through a swoon and then, oh, look at that. Came right back and I got released. Impossible to tell. My hunch is that these companies generally will survive going forward, but you just never know. And usually, ironically enough, the companies and the names that you think are going to survive are actually the ones that go belly up. There was a stock at the dot-com boom peak that represented 35% of the entire Canadian stock market. Now, you would have thought that was a company that was too big to fail. 35% of the entire stock market. And within 5 years, it was off the board and worthless. So you just don't know in this space. Anyway, I mean, if anything, I could make the argument this space is due for a bounce, but is it a bull market? No. Anyway, back to Mr. Lee. What I was joking about with him was if you were going to shill stock to the public, and of course, they're loaded up from down here. He even publicly said that he's long from $4.50 or something. Do you think they did well on that event there? And now, and this is what I was alluding to earlier, now, a guy like Tom Lee has to sit there for the next couple years, just keep saying, oh, this is still a good story, and I'm still Ethereum this and Ethereum that, and blah, 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 blah. And I just tweeted back, I said, I'd be more than happy to join you at $4.50, which just so happens to be the gap. Or if we can actually, and this is going to be tough because this trend line now is cement. I could see a trade down here. We got to break this trend line. I could see a trade like that develop. And that might just be that sort of buy when it snows and then into next year's seasonal peak. Because I do like the idea that there is going to be some sort of stock market peak somewhere right around the 28th of May. But the problem with this chart is that this is your trading range now. And that's assuming that we even get back above there. That's an awful big assumption here, folks. Especially with that Ethereum chart, the way that it looks, I could easily see, and that's sort of where we started all this off. I could easily see, we could probably even do like 38.2 retracements off of this range up to 50% levels, pump chaser zones, all that kind of fun talk. There they are. I could very easily see Ethereum get back up to like 3,700. And this dickhead's going to come out and say, oh, see, I told you, look, there was like a 20% rally in the price, but you told us to buy it here. What the fuck? Anyway, I could see something like this move into here, but I find it almost impossible to believe that it's going to have enough inertia to then get up into here. And then at that point, put in bullish structure for me to actually turn bullish. Dead cat bounces? Sure. Trends to new highs? No, I don't. I think that's a bit aggressive. In fact, you know what I might even suggest is I would not be surprised. And let someone take a screenshot of that and remind me in the new year. Oh, yes. Yeah, I like that. In fact, I was even thinking about this in the shower while I was humming and hawing there. What was I marking about in the shower earlier? Oh, well, can't even remember now. But I love these kind of trades where you have the primary trend line is broken. But now what you want to do is you actually want to hunt for the kiss of the trend line from the other side. And that usually represents one hell of a trade location because this trend line now is, what once was support has now turned into resistance. That is going to be a serious brick wall. So, like I said, next spring, probably into April, May, June, I could see us very easily be working our way back up. They release Trump, and he says, look how smart I am, see? But I might argue that actually sets up a really interesting short trade location. Into the end of the year, are we going to see like 10 G's on this thing like Tom Lee and Arthur Hayes said? I don't think so. I think that's kind of reaching. Have to be like half a miracle. Something dramatic has to happen. There's just too much technical damage done here, folks. I'm sorry. Might even argue in the near term, not only do we have that trend line and that trend line, I think we also have that trend line acting as a major resistance level as well. So you're probably going to get a little bit of a fight in here around maybe 3,500. It reaches up to 3,500. And then, we have to wait for a consolidation to reach up into this level, then a consolidation to reach up into this level, then a consolidation, and then we get back to trendline resistance. Oh, man. When are we going to get to the fireworks factory? Yeah, well. So it's going to be a tough slide here, folks. Anyway. Okay. I hope you got some value out of that. It's already 12:30 here, so about an hour and a half into the broadcast. Unfortunately, in this kind of environment, there's not a hell of a lot for me to like get really excited about on these bigger assets. I don't think that they're trading at value, but I could very easily understand like lower time frame setups. So, there's this kind of fun stuff. I have no idea whether this is going to work. This is just simply look, I'll risk $100. And if this diamond actually plays out into anticipation and we get a push up into like 95 or heaven forbid into the big fat round number, well, the trade pays off, right? And you make like $300-400. So it's just purely statistics. Does anybody that's not really a professional trader have any business looking at an image like this? I don't think so. I think these lower time frame conversations, I don't really like having them with the public because, as I'd said earlier, you can clearly see the risk window here, and it's just simple as that. I don't have any opinion, but I've got 3 higher lows against a setup level, and I'd be willing to risk against that. But those people that really don't know what they're doing in the market, they probably go risk their entire capital on this. And if it breaks this, they sit there and go, "Oh, I don't know. You know what? Just give it a chance. Oh, it'll be." And then, 3 or 4 days later, the prices come right back down to these lows into reload zones. And of course, they're talking about lawsuits. So I don't even really want to have this kind of conversation with you people. That's why I think it's probably best YouTube audience. We just stick to these higher time frame kind of pictures. I suppose, we could look at the daily chart. I guess also thinking about pump chaser, dump chaser zones, big fat round numbers. I can't even really turn bullish on Bitcoin until we actually put in market structure on the other side of this trend line. But you can see how much of a wiggle room there is here, even from current levels. We could easily trade up there. I don't know, do I have it? I'll do that. There we go. Oh, actually, wait a minute. I'm not Chinese or CCP. Shouldn't say Chinese. I'm not CCP. Green is good. Red is bad. If you know the CCP, they actually have the colors the exact opposite, which is always a bit of a culture shock when you see that from Chinese commentators. Like there'll be like an absolute destruction day in the market over there and everything's green. It's like, what? I could very easily see this go either way. In fact, actually, you heard me barking about candle body lows earlier. So that's perfectly realistic. And then if we adjust that to 38.2s and trendline resistance, that's probably a better image. If anything, I would say the odds of this accepting higher off of yesterday's doji or crapping out, having to come back down, test lows, coin toss. So I don't necessarily think there's a lot of edge for higher time frame participants to really get too jazzed. As I had said there a moment ago, I could understand junkies who are just absolutely got to hunt setups off 30 minutes, got to take traders trade. I think on balance, I woke up here and I saw the bot and I saw all these levels and I saw this beautiful bottom down here and I was like, fuck it, just strap it on, just get it done. Could I have maybe thrown a bid in off the double bottom level here and just been patient? Yeah, I suppose so. But really, in hindsight, all I wanted to make damn sure was that I was long from at least 91,988 there. So, like I said, when I woke up and I saw this thing pressing higher, I was like, fuck it, just pull the trigger. Let's get it done. No idea how this is going to play out. What I will say, though, is in my experience in the market, I see diamonds all the time here. This is what a diamond pattern looks like. And usually what happens is the diamond resolves about 2/3 of the apex, which was weird because we saw a little bit of a break yesterday. And I was like, that's odd. I was thinking diamond, especially with this huge sort of middle pivot, but I suppose this is crypto, subject to all the frivolities and vulgarities. And it quickly recovered and started paying higher lows again, holding those sort of diamond thinking. So I was willing to be flexible. You can even see I said, was this a head fake? Is there any guarantees that this is work? Well, you can see a big old fat double top just came in off this level. And it wouldn't even surprise me if enough people who are playing this thing on the weekend saw my tweet and went, fucking hey, man, let's go after his stops and let's run him out. That might just be exactly what's happening here. I don't know. We'll see. It is interesting if we continue that diamond thesis. It is interesting to see how tightly this has come in here. We might actually find, kind of like what I told you about trend lines earlier, we have a breakout here. It's a false breakout and we just absolutely puke out here. So no guarantees from the management, just it's a setup, it's there. And so I love the bot, and we did actually technically trip up the bot level. So I'm happy to take this trade and just live with the results. But a lot of you people, I know you're not. So unless you really know what you're doing in the marketplace, I'd probably leave these lower time frame conversations. Just what did he say about the daily chart? Oh, he said something about the odds of it going up versus going down right here, probably about 50-50. And I like that thinking here. Well, we'll see. Only time will tell. And I suppose tune in to tomorrow's video, and I'll tell you how violently I got slapped out of the market. Just live by the sword, die by the sword. If you're going to take this setup, or any setup for that matter, you got to make damn sure that you live by the damn sword, right? And if the setup fails, I better see stop hit, exited position, capital preservation mode. And that's it. Next bus in 10 minutes. So anyway, all right. I think that's about it for commentary with regard to the market. Suppose we can take a minute and just pop on over to YouTube and see if there's any questions over there. And Chris, did you see, were there any questions in the Q&A document? I know now the school term is winding down. Usually that lightens up quite a bit. One question. Is it inflammatory? I hope not. Oh, well, we'll see. All right. Pardon? Bonds. Buns. All right. Well, we'll take a look at that in a minute. Let's go through and say hello to YouTubers. Hello, Nuri. Hello, Zlig. Hello, Solaris. Hello, Mr. Loris. Whoa, there's a name. Hello, Nasara 5356. Opportunity is now here. Awesome. Human biomass. Hello, sir. We were saying hello in the lounge this morning. It almost felt like it was kind of a funny anecdote, but it almost felt like good old Simpsons. I don't know. You're probably not allowed to show this stuff on these videos, or it'd be censored. Anyway, I don't know whether you remember this. Good day, sir. Good day. Anyway, we're having fun in the lounge this morning, talking about that stuff. But anyway, good day to you. We want Sidonia for next PM of China. Oh, sure. Long or short. Hope you're having a nice weekend. Hello, looks like Bitcoin might close below the monthly 13 EMA today. Ooh, that's a good observation. SPY put in a monthly hanging man. If you have time, explain and demonstrate an institutional fingerprint. Well, kind of like what I showed you on that Bitcoin chart really easily, right? Just think of it in simplest terms. Institutions buy down markets. Public sells down markets, right? Public always loses money at this game. Public buys up markets. Institutions sell up markets. So that means by definition, if we actually look at a price chart, since we know which parties do which, we know that probably these were the public coming in and buying there. We also know that this is probably the public coming in and selling there. And it just goes back and forth. I mean, damn Gucci sweaters. Remember all that nonsense? Public coming in and buying more. Get rich, buy Bitcoin. You make $1 billion. So what do you think the public's doing down here? They're probably selling. And then look at our crypto fear greed index. The public is not very happy right now. But does the public usually make good decisions when it comes to investing their hard-earned money? No. When it comes to crypto, even worse. It's remarkable how many people come on the TRI website from completely unrelated industries. And then for some reason, within a couple of weeks of hanging around crypto, all of a sudden they're absolute experts in trading crypto. It's like, what? You got to be kidding me. So in simplest terms, the point at which this market stopped going down and actually turned around and started going back up, we can identify that as an area where somebody said stop going down and somebody said get your butt back up there. And it ain't the public, it's the institutional players. They usually buy into the public's panic selling. And 38.2, public's panic selling, and they don't realize they're actually selling into a very technically appropriate level for institutional players to go, you know what, maybe I will go buy some. Or maybe more importantly, maybe I'll go buy back the coins that I sold to Joe Sixpack up here and pocket the difference. That's probably more likely the case. So think of it that way. So institutional fingerprint, by definition, is the bar that put in the low. Plus, sort of like just the way that I like to look at it is what was the price action pushing this into this low? So whoever engineered the selling, often it takes a little while of selling to actually get the public freaked out. And you might even find that maybe some institutional players were shorting up here against this 13 EMA. But it's this zone here where we can only see it after the fact. You can't see it in real time. I mean, maybe this is an institutional fingerprint, but we will only know that after the fact when we look back over time and we go, son of a bitch, that's where the institution stepped in, bought up all the crap the public was selling, and turned the market back up. And then we look back here, we look back at the previous institutional fingerprint, and we go, well, I guess that makes sense. They just basically bought at exactly where they bought before. No difference for them whatsoever. Really simple. Ironically enough, this game is so freaking simple, but you try to teach this to the public and it's like pulling teeth. So anyway. All right, so I hope that that answered that question. What the hell are you guys going on about? That's an interesting observation, Gordon. Closing on the monthly price charts. I haven't looked at monthly price charts on Bitcoin in a while. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some technical damage. And I also wouldn't be surprised if your 13 EMA reference, it acts as like a magnet. And we just sort of oscillate around that. That's a huge level. Let's see. Interesting. So 13 EMA is actually a little bit above. So I could very easily see us actually finish here, beep, then work our way back up into this trend line from the other side and kiss that 13 EMA from that side. But that is a really bad technical development there, that we actually close below that 13 EMA. So good eye on you for pointing that out. But the irony of it all is I show you guys this girls and houseplants, this image year in, year out. It's always the same. So are we actually doing anything out of the ordinary here? I kind of think, big thump, right? Big thump. I kind of think that there's probably some sort of, probably pretty violent counter trend rally here in our not too distant future. Does it have to wait till the new year? Maybe. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of counter trend rally. But I mean, if we do kind of like or similar to 1819, you can see we sit in this range. And I could very easily, I've drawn this for you guys before, and knowing that monthly 13 EMA is there and knowing what this looks like, I could very easily see us do that. And then one more dump into the cycle low. I could easily see that. So good eye on you there, Gordon. That makes sense. All right, Fatu. Hi, Brian. Hello, Fatu. Is that like chateau, but looking like Brian's body? TIHS. No idea what that means. Sharpest was the only one who answered my question there. I don't know. I think a lot of people just watch these videos and have me on as background music. Happy Sunday, Brian and TRI. Thank you, Adam. Yell out the window. Say hi to your neighbors for me. Forest Real Estate Group. I love that name. Hello. Did you sell seed phrase on the CD4KJ project website? I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. That sounds like a shill, eh? No idea. Cassie says, did you sell seed phrase and earn $350 in the CD4KI project? So there's another person. He just can't get rid of these things, eh? VPVR now is a rectangularity. All right, you're gonna have to show me a chart. Don't know what time frame you're looking at. Human Biomass, Riot, the gaming company. Well, I don't know what the hell they are. I think they're pretty successful, actually. Riot, we were looking at Riot. I mean, I have it on the screen. It's one of these funny ones. This is Hut here, but Riot's up here. Yeah, you probably saw that screen. You saw the headline, but I put multiple charts on each chart. So there's your Riot. And you probably thought that was Hut, but it's not. So Riot there and there, and there you go. See, ironically enough, from a seasonal perspective, you can see exactly where I'd want to buy. I think this could very easily be a buy when it snows kind of idea, but I wouldn't mind one more dip down in here. Maybe against like this trend line support and this trend line support, something like that. Dead cat bounce right now. And ironically enough, exactly the same thing as Bitcoin, just going the other direction. What a surprise. We just banged into 38.2. Nothing out of the ordinary here. V bottom with just a shit ton of price gaps here. Obviously, this is not sustainable. So at some point, we're going to have to come back down in, fill in all these gaps. I don't know when. But my hunch is it's probably when this current crypto dead cat bounce, bull market rally, or I guess bear market, counter trend rally exhausts itself. So V top should be tested, V bottom should be tested. So right now I think it's just trying to figure out a trading range. And certainly nothing to do there. All right, I don't know whether you were asking about Riot, but anyway, there you go. Valorant is also pretty successful. All right. Don't see Riot going belly up anytime soon. But I think you were referring to that HUD chart that I was looking at. But yeah, same logic. I mean, you can see Mr. Biomass, right? I mean, this stuff is so damn cliche. What are we supposed to think if we ever see the market smiling at us? So, what a surprise. There's the October Bitcoin 4-year cycle pivot. You can't script this shit any better. This is what I just don't understand. This is so bloody obvious. And yet people like Tom Lee come out and say, oh, there's no validity to the 4-year cycle whatsoever. And like people are like, all right, fuck you, Beamish. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. There's no validity to this whatsoever. And yet, I mean, how many goddamn studies do I have to show you? This is what baffles me about this world. I mean, this is irrefutable. I don't get it. Like, what the hell? Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I guess the whole point is I don't think I'm supposed to be a part of the mass psychology of the market. I think I'm a very niche type person. You either like me or you hate me. Oh, Jesus, these stupid idiots. All right, well, you think that these idiots would be like, oh, Jesus, this is going to get us into trouble. Oh, look at that. Somebody also deleted something. I guess there's other rational investors watching this. I thought I was the only person here, but oh well. Okay, are these bots in this chat? Oh yeah, there you go. You are the man. You will and you always will be the man. Thanks, James. Or okay, holy brain fart. Now I feel like an idiot. Mrs. Solari. Oh, I got a total brain fart. I can see your face, but I can't remember. That's old age for you, eh? Terrible. Brian, do you think the BTC dominance is in trouble? Maybe a little alt rally pending? Well, that's a good question. Where do we have BTC dominance? I've got it around on one of these screens. Can't remember which one. I think it's over here. Aha. All right, let's see what you got here. Well, interesting. We rallied into a very normal trade location. So, you know, I encourage everybody, and the irony of it all is you can even do it with these spreads, LICS. What time is it? It's 1 o'clock. I got to get out of here soon. So, since we are in reload zones, that's going to drive me crazy. Oh, now I feel idiot. Oh, well, what can you do? Liz, thank you. That full show stopped. I remember Liz. And I'm so bad at it. You know, we've got this one buddy. I even stayed at his house. And for some goddamn reason, I have a total mental block on the name Martin. Why? I have no idea. Stoned Ape. That's how I know him for the rest of my life. Anyway, so we have location, so you can give a check mark there. I guess the question here, from a technical perspective, did the oscillators get overbought? Oh boy, sure looks like it up top here, right? So I think up top there, I might have had said, this is getting a little overbought. We'll probably give a check mark to Liz. She's the L now. I'm gonna officially change location to Liz so that I never forget her name again. What a doofus. Anyway, so indicators overbought. That was up top here. Confirmed divergence and momentum. Interesting, as we were heading up top here. Look at that momentum divergence there. So I think you can make the argument there was trouble brewing up top there. And then price structure. And this is where I don't know whether there would have been an actual trade here. And I don't know if you can even trade this or not, but there was lots of evidence. Location, indicators in divergence, overbought, so LIC, and then what is the S? Kind of looks to me like it's in a kind of a weird one, but up, down, up, down, up, down, boom. See you later. You can see the moving averages crossed right here. So, and actually you could even argue that this is actually a very sloppy, but it is a head and shoulders. So I think that's your structure there. So I actually really like the idea. If you had told me, well, Brian, considering we had location, I love 78.6 fib for trade location. We were sort of right up in that area. I had the indicators overbought. I had confirmed momentum divergence. I'm going to take a shot and go short here. I love that. Works every day of the week. Right here, right now, is there anything really to discern out of this? I get the impression we're in a range. And my hunch is, what do you think the odds are that this was down in like mountain man level here? Reload long zones. Yeah. So I think you can make the argument that whatever this short setup was off the top there, we came down into some profit taking levels. And I might make the argument that you might have had like a little bottom come in here. So there, I guess the way that I would look at this is moving up, Bitcoin worth more than shitcoins. This is shitcoin starting to move up relative to Bitcoin. And if anything, what it looks like is the range is compressing. So that, hopefully what that implies is that the spread between Bitcoin and shitcoins and the relative volatility sort of calms down. Because, you can't give away shitcoins right now. And if anything, that in itself is actually a harbinger for me of actually a bottom. And, if it wasn't for the fact that I was leaving TRI here at the end of the year, I wouldn't sell any of my little old lady holdings. I'd just leave it all alone. They're just basically sitting at cost. No banging out doubles, but at the same time too, it's a little old lady portfolio. So there's no real risk. You're just long. So that's kind of what I see with the dominance right now. Interesting how that spike went right into that zone and got knocked right back down. So at best, I would say that this is in a trading range. That's a daily chart too. And I would say, simply put, this isn't a bear. However you use this, oh, I want to buy shitcoins, I want to buy Bitcoin, whatever. I don't think that this is a bear until you actually get structural signals below this trend line. So that means you got to break here, rally back up, fail and then issue a sell signal for me to believe that this area is actually a failure point, because as you can see, that's a reload long zone. So we should, if anything, be thinking that whatever this relationship is, however you use it, probably also too a good conversation about volume profile. You can see there's a bunch of unfinished business up here. I mean, ideally the market wants to be a parabola. So I would say that, the odds are pretty good that at some point we got to rally back up here and fill all this in. How that affects your particular trading brand with regard to crypto, I don't know. I'm not going to really comment on that. What I'll just simply say is I think a lot of the fluff has been taken out of the market. I think there was a lot of fluff built into the market over Solana and Ethereum and all that. And I think on balance, they've taken the fluff out of the market. And now, if anything, what we'd ideally like to see is everything just stabilize. Probably the best thing for this space is if this thing could just calm down and just stabilize. And then structural signals to the downside, look for even further weakness, structural signals to the upside, rock and roll, go Bitcoin or something like that. All right, getting on here. I got to get going. So thank you, James and Liz in the background. Happy holidays and all the best. Was just saying, fundamentally speaking, that Riot is probably not gonna go belly up anytime soon. If it's the gaming company we're talking about, surely stock can pump and tank. Yeah, well, and actually I'm thinking about stock market moving higher into the spring, buy when it snows, sell when it goes. So if anything, this whole space, probably what has to happen here is everybody just calm down. We go back to the stock page. Just everything here needs to calm down. Probably this circle is a really good example. I mean, right on its knees right now. And probably over the next month, the absolute best thing this can do is just calm down. So that's actually what I'd be looking for. All the best. All right, Hermes, you're out of here. Have a nice evening, Brian. Thanks for coming on again. All right, he's out of here. Doesn't mean the company is dying. All right. Yeah, no, I wouldn't talk about companies dying in this kind of environment. Not yet. Let's have those kind of conversations a year from now. Then we'll find out who's actually on their deathbed. Okay. All right. You have yourselves a great afternoon as well. People are heading off. Wish Liam and I luck on the roads this afternoon. I'd appreciate it. I'm all right. Chris said there was one question in the Q&A document about the bond market. So I'll see whether I can speak to that, and then I will bid you adieu. And as I always say, please wish Lily and I luck on the roads, as it is quite treacherous driving in this particular part of the world right now, given, let's call it, demographic changes of late. But Liam loves his car rides. Man, that's like religion. Absolutely has to have his car rides every day. So, but I get the privilege of doing it 2 days a week. All right, let's see what we got. All right. Hey, Brian, quick question regarding how to approach the bond market. Does the 10, 20, 30 apply to other countries? Example, when you said the US is all about the 20-year, would that apply to others if that makes sense? I don't quite understand the question. Quick question regarding how to approach the bond market. Does the 10, 20, 30 apply? What does that mean, apply? to other countries. So every country should have a yield curve. Just think of it. A country issues a 30-year bond. Well, now technically, 1 year later, that's now a 29-year bond. 1 year later, that's now a 28-year bond. 1 year later, now it's a 27-year bond, etc., all the way to maturity. So if a company issues a bond in the marketplace, by definition, they're somewhere on this curve, and that bond is somewhere on this curve until the day the bond is actually paid back. So it's not really like it's applicable to one country or another. I mean, it's just how the fixed income market works. So I guess the answer is yes, it applies to everything. The problem is that the United States, sort of the forefront of sort of public education as to how the financial markets work. I might argue that the average US citizen is far, far more in tune and understanding with how the economy works than even China, for that matter. You try going out into the public here and talking to the public about the fact that a bankster literally just took over the federal government and is doing whatever the hell he wants with a minority government, including spending horrendous amounts of money that he was never given a mandate to do. And you try and get the Canadian public to understand how incredibly manipulated our society is here by these people. I mean, you saw what had to happen in the United States to clean out the financial system after their respective housing bubble. Anybody ever heard of the movie The Big Short? Did any of you happen to live through the nightmare of 2008 in the United States and the subsequent 4 or 5 years following? I know there were a lot of people that got very, very hurt. In China to here, they just announced that they just literally did exactly the same thing as the ultimate end result, quantitative easing, bail out the banks. They just did exactly the same thing here in this country, identical. Nobody said boo. Nobody has said a single thing. And yet the entire bailout just happened. And I bet, even Canadians here watching this video here right now, you don't even know that it just happened. I can show you the proof. So, and of course, none of these Canadian banks, even the slightest bit, affected, when theoretically there should have been a Lehman Brothers, there should have been a Bear Stearns, there should have been an AIG. There's tons of toxic paper in this country, and this is exactly the time of the cycle when all that negativity has to be expressed for the next cycle to actually get going. It's exactly the same thing has happened in the US. And here in this country, the public is so incredibly ill-informed, and I think purposefully kept in the dark by these oligarchs. They don't even know what the hell just happened. Stunning. So, in a weird sort of way, if you're down in the States and you're looking at these really cool tools, like something like stockcharts.com, good old John Murphy. Of course, they're doing all this crap too. You know what? Screw it. I like using free. This is why I really don't like the direction that this whole interneting bullshit is going in. Is it's literally turning into a whole industry has been created out of just middlemen. Nothing. I was shocked. I wanted to open up a merch shop, and it turns out Shopify is going to charge me $600 a year just for the privilege of having a merch shop open. Not selling a goddamn thing. What a fucking crock of shit. Excuse my French. Couldn't believe it. Anyway, so, we're sitting here as sort of somewhat educated market participants. What you have to understand is an information like set like this that's produced by Americans and for the American market, it doesn't exist anywhere else. Yes, all the other countries have their respective yield curves. It's just all the other countries in the world, their citizens, they're brainless when it comes to the amount of market knowledge that the typical American citizen. And keep in mind, there aren't a lot of people that know about this kind of stuff. It takes clowns like me to actually find it. But this just doesn't exist anywhere else. Yeah, thanks, James. He goes, yeah, my wife's name's Liz, by the way, Brian. Way to go. Still remember Liz has the same birthday as me, and I'll never forget that. As well as this guy that does the videos with me here. I can't remember his name either. But they both have the same birthday as me. Go figure. So I think to speak to your question, it's not so much that these don't exist, it's just who the hell produces them. And then if you go and do like I want to get a picture of the Canadian yield curve. All right, good luck. Let's see what the hell comes up here. If anything, do we get a nice pretty image like this from the Bank of China to themselves? And survey says, actually, maybe this is a little, okay, these are bond yields. Where is that yield curve? So they just don't make it easy. And this is the Bank of China. What's absolutely disgusting about the world that we live in now is that these people they used to have up here, our number one job is to fight inflation. That's the only reason why you would have a central banking authority. And you notice that that's not gone. Now it's more than a bank. We are the central bank of China. What the hell does that mean? More than Big Brother. We are watching you 24/7 and every penny that you spend. Is that what that statement means? Ugh, it's disgusting. So it's not necessarily like, does the rest of the world follow this? It's just, ironically enough, the United States of America is really one of the last bastions of, and maybe one of the only bastions of actual freedom in this world. And the American citizens have had enough gumption to actually take ownership of financial disseminated information and create tools and services around interpreting the information. Because in all the other countries of the world, try and go find like a German yield curve image. Good luck. Am I still connected or can you hear me? Chris, can you hear me? Hello. Yeah, somebody said on YouTube, you just got cut off when talking about the banks. Look at that. Isn't that interesting? All right, so let's go back 15 seconds. What was I talking about? Can you remind me before we got cut off? It was probably just at the point that I was highlighting the corruption of the Bank of China. It wouldn't surprise me. Isn't that interesting? Interesting. So what I said there, and I don't even know whether it's still in here. I guess that was this one. Let's see if the audio cuts out. And I was like, you are the Bank of China. Your number one job is to fight inflation. It's the only reason why you have any existence whatsoever, justifiable existence. And now they are more than a bank. We are the central bank of Canada. What the hell does that mean? Does that mean we are watching you 24/7, and we don't really care about inflation because we completely own your lives, and there's nothing you can do about it. Anyway, hopefully between the two of those, something got recorded. All right, on that happy-go-lucky note, I think we'll probably leave it at that for today. As I said, with regard to something like the corn, I don't mind the idea of a little bit of a bump up here in the coming week. Could this puke out and lower highs and lower lows defines a bear? We're not done this correction yet. Yep, that could very easily be the case. And as I suggested off of this image, I think it's a bit of a coin toss whether we go higher or lower from current levels. But I do like the idea of us working our way up into this, I think, rather obvious technical objective over the coming, let's say, couple weeks, especially into like the end of the year. It wouldn't surprise me. So we'll see what the coming week or two looks like. Me personally, I'm going to be watching when it comes to crypto. I'll be watching things like Zcash. I gotta tell you, that looks extremely dangerous. So I could very easily see names like this actually come back down to earth as people sort of calm down a bit in the Bitcoin story. And you might even see it's not necessarily like this is a bad story. It's just, if you actually want somebody to buy something considering value, well, I mean, you can see where the bottom and the end of the range is here. Who on earth, who actually knows what they're doing in this game, would consider buying this basically 10 times that price? That doesn't make any sense at all. So be careful of ideas that look like that. This is the same thing as Eric Trump coming in and telling everybody to buy Ethereum right up at the top. You're going to make yourself look foolish. So you see where reload zones are. And I might even say, I'd be more than happy to throw in some stink bids down at these levels for little old lady portfolios, but we got no business touching that there. All right, everybody, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. Try not to take no wooden nickels. Remember what your number one job as a trader is. Please wish Lily and I best of luck on the roads. And if you're interested, tune in tomorrow, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We do our site video where I spend a couple hours reviewing everything with site members. All right, all the best, and bye for now.